Today, we are getting into something that happens to all of us all the time, but we hardly ever stop to think about why, and that's the feeling of being misunderstood. We're going to look at some really cool insights into the very architecture of how we talk to each other and why it feels like it breaks down so often.
You know that feeling, right? That frustration. You've laid out your point, you think you've been perfectly clear, but the other person, they're just not getting it. It's like you're speaking a completely different language, even though you're using the same words.
Well, here's a radical idea. What if it's not your fault? And what if it's not their fault either? The big idea we're digging into today is this. Miscommunication isn't some bug in the system. It's actually a fundamental feature of the very tool we're using, language itself.
Okay, so let's get into it. Before we can find a better way, we have to really understand the problem. We need to get to the heart of this built-in communication glitch. Why do our messages get so scrambled on the journey from one brain to another?
This quote just completely reframes it, doesn't it? It's not saying that getting it wrong is some rare accident. No, it says it's the easiest and the most common thing that can happen. Getting our wires crossed is the default setting for human interaction, not some weird exception.
So, why is it the default? Well, this takes us right to the root of the problem. Language itself has a kind of imperfect design. There's this massive, and I mean massive, gap between what's actually going on inside our heads and the words we have to use to try and explain it.
Just think about it for a second. Your inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, all your memories is this incredibly complex, shifting, messy landscape, full of color and nuance. But the words we have, they're like blunt instruments. It's kind of like trying to paint a beautiful, detailed sunset using only a big, chunky, three-color box of crayons. A whole lot is going to get lost in the translation.
And you know, the perfect proof of this is the fact that synonyms even exist. Why do we need so many different words for the same basic idea? Think about happy, joyful, elated, content. Each one has a slightly different flavor, a different shade of meaning. The fact that we even need all those options proves that no single word is ever quite enough to get the job done perfectly. And then it gets even messier, because the meaning of what you say can completely change depending on the context. Are you texting someone? Are you in a tense work meeting? Or maybe you're just on a bad phone call with terrible reception. Every single one of these things adds another layer of potential ambiguity, another trap for your message to fall into.
So, this breakdown, this glitch, it's pretty much inevitable, right? It's built into the system. So what's our first, very human gut reaction when it happens? Oh, we start playing the blame game. Yeah, instead of seeing the problem as a flaw in the tool, in language, we immediately treat it as a flaw in the other person. We go straight to, you weren't listening, or you're twisting my words. We desperately search for someone to blame, and all that harshness just makes the disconnect a million times worse. This is such a powerful and kind of bleak image, isn't it? It basically suggests that if we keep going down that road of blame and getting defensive, we end up completely alone. We get trapped inside our own little world, unable to ever truly connect with anyone else.
So, is that it? Are we doomed to just be stuck in our own heads? No, absolutely not. There is a way to work with this flawed, messy system of language instead of always fighting against it. So let's talk about that new path forward. It's all about making a pretty fundamental shift in how we think about what language is and what it's really supposed to do for us. So what is this new approach? It really boils down to three big things. First, we just have to accept that language is flexible. It's not set in stone. Second, we have to actively stop ourselves from pointing the finger and looking for who's to blame. And third, and this one is maybe the most important, we have to start seeing clarification not as a failure, but as a totally normal, totally necessary part of a good conversation. I just love this way of thinking about it. Stop picturing language as some rigid steel bridge that's supposed to perfectly connect two people. Instead, think of it like a river. It's serpentine, it moves, it's always changing. You don't try to master a river by forcing it to stand still. You learn how to navigate its currents.
And this is how you navigate that river. Asking, hey, what did you mean by that? Or saying, okay, let me say that another way just to be sure. That's not a sign of weakness. It's not admitting that you failed. It is the absolute hallmark of successful, engaged communication. It's how you stay afloat. So let's wrap this up by accepting that language is flexible, by dropping the blame game, and by always making room to clarify, we can learn to navigate this unpredictable river of communication. So I'll leave you with this question.
In your very next conversation today, how can you make just a little more room for that simple, powerful act of clarifying?